Okay, so in this video, we're gonna do an introduction to the reading section, which is basically what the reading section includes, and some tips for the reading section. So the reading section is 65 minutes, 52 questions, and 5 passages. Okay. So some potential obstacles that I've heard about the reading section from people and that I experienced myself was that the reading section especially was really difficult because they had confusing questions. A lot of people would tell me that they didn't what their biggest issue is that they didn't understand what the question was asking because they were just confused about it. It was confusing, and I experienced that myself as well. And then also not having enough time. A lot of people say that they don't have enough time to read the whole all the 5 passages, so then that obviously brings down your score. So we're gonna try to target these obstacles, and we're gonna try to not be like this guy right here, feel like we're losing our minds when we approach the reading section. Okay, so I'm gonna now tell you one of the ways that I'm gonna try to teach you how to approach the reading section, and one of the ways that I think is gonna make it the easiest is a couple techniques and strategies that I developed. But first, before I introduce you to those techniques, you need to understand the types of questions that there are on the reading test, because the techniques are based on these type of questions, and also these types of questions are not official. Like the SAT, the College Board, doesn't say these are the types of questions that we test you on. But this is the way that I categorized them to make them make the most sense, really. And I just try to really simplify it in my head. And then the strategies that I developed they develop these types of questions. So just keep in mind that this isn't official, like the SAT didn't say this, I came up with this, but I feel like this is the easiest way to look at the SAT reading section. So you're gonna get the first passage you're gonna encounter is gonna be a fiction passage. That's the first passage you're gonna get, and this passage is gonna have the following types of questions. You're gonna get whole passage questions, and I call them this because you need to read the whole passage to answer these types of questions. For example, look at number 1. Over the course of the passage, the primary focus shifts from. Notice it says over the course of the passage. You need to read the whole passage to answer this question. So there's a whole passage question. Same with this one. Which choice best describes what happens in the passage? What happens in the passage? You need to read the whole passage to answer this question. The next type of question is a locatable reference point question. Also shows up in the fiction passage. So a locatable reference point question, I call it this because we get a specific place in the passage where we are going to be able to find the answer to the question. So we can look at this one right here. It can reasonably be inferred that Irma, the waitress, thinks Lemmy is through eating line 37 because it gives us line 37. So we could find the answer by going to line 37, reading around line 37. The answer to that question is going to be there. So we have a specific point, a locatable reference point where we can find our answer. Look at number 22. As used in line 14, simple most nearly means we get line 14, so we have a specific point where we can find the answer. Number 2 right here, the main purpose of the first paragraph is to. This one, the answer is going to be in the first paragraph, right? So we have a specific place where we can go and look, where we can find the answer to the question. I'm just erasing. Yeah, so a locatable reference point is basically just a question that gives you a specific point in the passage where you can go and try to find the answer. And then fiction passage is also going to include non-locatable reference point questions, and I call them this because they are similar to the locatable reference point questions, in which there's a specific place where the answer is going to be. It's not like you need to read the whole passage, like there's a specific place, a very specific place where the answer is, but the question itself doesn't give us the specific place. So if you see this question right here, the narrator indicates that Lemmy finally closes the history book because. So the answer to this question is going to be in the part of the passage where Lemmy finally closes the history book. There's going to be one sentence in the passage where it says Lemmy closes the history book because, or something like that. So it's just going to be one sentence. One sentence, in some cases it might be like 2 sentences. But there's this just specific spot. You don't need to read the whole passage to be able to answer this question, because there's one specific place where Lemmy closes the history book, and that is where the answer to this question is. So it doesn't tell us where. It doesn't say, let me open, closes the history book in line 7 or in paragraph 3. So because of that, it's not a locatable reference point question. But as we read and we come across a sentence where it says, let me closes the history book or something like that, then we know that that's where our answer is gonna be, because they tell us the event that's happening, the event we're looking for. And then in a fiction passage, you're also going to get an evidence question, and they show up everywhere. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So usually these are going to be, these types of questions are going to be following non-locatable reference point questions. Like you could answer a non-locatable reference point question, and then the next question would be one of these, asking you which line supports the answer you just chose on the previous question, right? So these are just the ones that they're just trying to test you to see if you used evidence on where you find your answer. And I'll also teach you how to make sure that you get these ones right. A lot of people say these ones are the ones that you struggle with the most, and I struggled with these too before I developed these strategies. And then you're going to get the next passages that you're going to get 3 nonfiction passages. So the first passage is a fiction. Then you're going to start getting nonfiction passages. These could be science. These could be history, social science. It could be different things, but it's going to be nonfiction. And then types of questions that are that you're going to see in the nonfiction passages are going to be also whole passage questions, also locatable reference point, and also non-locatable reference points. But number 33 here is going to be a whole passage question. It says the central claim of the passage. You need the whole passage to answer that one. 25 right here, the author's main purpose of including the information about X-ray evidence and density is 2. So in this case, there's going to be a specific place in the passage where the author mentions X-ray evidence and density. And then that's where our answer is going to be for this question. So this one's a non-locatable reference point question. 22, the author uses the word backbone in lines 3 and line 39 to indicate. So in this case, it's a locatable reference point question because we can go to line 3 and line 39 and try to find our answer. Then nonfiction passages, they have some unique questions. These ones are going to include also the evidence questions, which we discussed, and which would be an example would be this one, just which choice provides the best evidence and gives you some line numbers. But one that's unique to nonfiction passage questions is graphs and tables. So for example, question 30 here, according to the table, which of the following pairs the base percentages in sea urchin DNA provides evidence in support of the answer to the previous question? And these are actually pretty easy. They're really, really straightforward. There's going to be a specific graph or a table or something, and literally on there is going to be one of these. It's going to be like 17, let's say to be like 17.3 and 32.1%. Like it's literally going to be clearly labeled there. And I'll teach you too how to make sure you try to get the answer right, but these are not that hard. And these are just graph and table questions are just questions that are going to be based on a table or a graph. Then you're going to get a double passage question. I call it this because you get 2 passages. You get passage 1 and you get passage 2, and then all the questions are based on kind of both passages. And these are usually the hardest because they're usually old documents. They're usually documents that are in Old English, so that makes it kind of hard. But you're also going to get whole passage questions. You're going to get locatable reference point, non-locatable reference point, and evidence questions. So you're going to get all the same ones as that the other ones get. And here are some examples. Number 33 in passage 1, Lincoln contends that breaking the law has which consequence? You can try to guess it by yourself. You can pause this video maybe, but this one's going to be a non-locatable reference point question because there's a specific place. It says passage 1, so you might think it might be locatable, but the thing is that that's the whole passage. It doesn't give us a specific place in the passage, right? It's just letting us know which passage we're looking at. It's non-locatable because it tells us a specific event in the passage. So it tells us the part where Lincoln contends that breaking the law has which consequence. So there's going to be a specific point in the passage where Lincoln is talking about breaking the law, and it's going to say breaking the law leads to this or something like that. So that's the specific spot where the answer is going to be, but it doesn't tell us exactly where. It doesn't say line this or paragraph of this. So it gives us an event that we can look for, but it doesn't give us a specific place. So non-locatable reference point there. This one you can just see it as an evidence question, gives you some line numbers, which choice provides the best evidence. Then you have this one right here. The primary purpose of each passage is to. So you need to read both passages to answer that question. So that's a whole passage question. And number 35, as used in line 24, urge most nearly means. So it gives us exactly right here where we can look for the answer, line 24, so locatable reference point question. Then in the double passage, it has its own unique questions, and I call them passage relationship questions because they are questions where you're going to be tested on the relationship between the passages. Like, are they going against each other? Are they supporting what the other one is saying? How would this author react to what the other author is saying? Questions like that. So 19 is an example. Which choice best states the relationship between the two passages? So you can see it's just asking you what's the relationship between the passages. So that's why I call them passage relationship questions. This one's also a passage relationship question. Beecher would most likely have reacted to lines 65 through 68 of passage 2 with. So to answer these types of questions, you need to know, are both authors agreeing with each other? If they are, then the way that they would have reacted would have been similarly, right? If they're going against what the other one's saying, then they would have reacted with an opposite reaction, right? So that's what they're really trying to test you, just like how are the passages related. And then here are my strategies. I'm just going to read them, try to explain them a little bit, but there's going to be a video specifically in which I show you on an actual test how to execute these strategies because they're really specific. So number 1, you're going to read the questions first. If you read the passage first, you're going to forget. You're going to forget what you read. And then when you get to the questions, you're going to be looking for what you just read, and you already forgot passage 1 because you already finished the passage, so you're going to have to go reread it and then undo all that, and then because of that, it's going to take you too much time, and it's just not efficient. So you need to read the questions first. But I don't want you to read the answers. I only want you to read the questions, just the question. Just read the question, and you're going to annotate them as I'm going to tell you. So for locatable reference point questions, you're going to make a dot next to the line that it tells you, or you're going to make a line next to the paragraph. And again, there's going to be a video showing you this specifically, but this is just basically saying sorry, that was my phone. But this is just a video, I'm just going to really quickly try to explain it, but there's a video that's going to tell you all this. But when it says make a dot next to the line, so locatable reference point questions, they could give you like line 24. So you're going to go to line 24, and you're going to make a big dot next to it. Because that way when you're reading, you're going to realize, oh, there's a question related to this line. Or if there's a paragraph in which it tells you like the locatable reference point question tells you blah, blah, blah in passage 2. So you're going to go to passage 2, and you're going to make a big line next to it like that. Because that way when you read the paragraph, you know that there's something related. There's going to be a question related to that paragraph. So you're going to be on the lookout for it. When you get non-locatable reference point questions, you're going to underline what you're looking for. So let me go to a non-locatable reference point question. Like this one right here. Let me erase all this. So number 33 over here, that's a non-locatable reference point question. So what you're going to do is underline what you're looking for. So it says in passage 1, Lincoln contends that breaking the law has which consequence? So what are we looking for? We're looking for the place in the passage where Lincoln contends that breaking the law has a certain consequence. That's what we're looking for, right? So we're going to underline that part. Let's go look for another one. Right here as well, at number 25. So the author's main purpose of including the information about X-ray evidence and density is to. So we're looking for the place where the author includes information about X-ray evidence and density. That's what we're looking for, the place in the passage where that happens. So that's what you're going to do for non-locatable reference point questions. You're going to underline what you're looking for. And then whole passage evidence, passage relationship, and graph questions, you're not going to do anything because you need to read the whole passage, or you need to you need to see a graph for that question, so you don't have to do anything. So for those, you don't do anything, but for locatable reference point and non-locatable reference point questions, you do something when you read the questions. So you read the questions first, and you're gonna annotate them like how I just told you. Number 2, you're going to read the passage. So you read the questions first, and then you start reading the passage. Obviously, try to read as fast as you can manage while still being able to understand what is happening in the passage. We might want to read really fast so we can get it over with and, try to make sure we have as much time as possible. But if you read so fast that you don't understand anything and you have to go back and reread, it's pointless. So just read good and read correctly the first time, so you don't have to reread it over and over again and waste even more time, right? So just try to read as fast as you can, but just fast enough that you can still understand what you're reading, okay? And then make sure you answer the questions as you read. So that's why we have these specific annotations for the different types of questions, because we need to know where there's going to be a question, right? So as you read, when you get to line 24, and you're going to see that big dot right there, and you're going to know, okay, there's a question that has related to that. I'm going to go answer that one. So when you get to an answer, so when you get to line 24, you see the answer right there. Go to the question that corresponds to it. Be like, okay, what was the question again? Let me make sure. Okay, I'm right here. I'm in line 24. Okay, I think the answer is this. Okay, I answered it. I'm going to continue reading. And then you go to the next question like that. Most of the times, the questions are going to be in order. So as you read, you can just glance to the first question. Okay, that's a whole passage question, right? So you don't do anything. You have to wait. Glance to number 2. Okay, number 2 is going to be in line 24. So you continue reading until you get to line 24. You answer it. Then you continue reading. And then you answer number 3. And then you continue reading. And like that, okay? Because if you glance at the next question to get an idea of what you're looking for next, then you already know what you're looking for, you know what you're reading for, and that even makes you more aware, and it makes you interact more with what you're reading than just reading the passage first and having no idea what you're looking for. Okay, so that's just a way to make sure that it's fast. You only have to read the passage once. It's fast, you only have to read the passage once. It makes sure that you kind of stay awake, that you have something to look for, that you're actively interacting with the passage, and that's going to help you a lot. And then number 3, before you answer a question, try to answer it without looking at the answer choices. So you can see the question's asking, why did Lemmy close the history book? And as you read, you found the place where Lemmy started closing the history book, and then try not to look at the answers and just try to, after you read that part, try to answer yourself. Why did Lemmy close the history book? And then you tell yourself it was because he was bored, and then go to the question and look for the answer that's similar to it was because he was bored. So if the passage said it was because he was bored, then don't doubt yourself. That's why. Okay, so look for an answer that's similar to what you answered. And that's going to help you a lot. It's going to help you make sure that you don't get the question wrong. So remember, just make sure you try to answer it without looking at the answer choices. Then look for an answer choice that is similar to your answer. Number 4, your answer questions accurately. So always have evidence and a reason for why you're choosing an answer. So if you said Lemmy closes a history book because he's bored, because it makes sense, that's not a good answer. But if he closes the history book because he was bored, because the passage says specifically Lemmy closed the history book because he was bored, then that's okay. So you told yourself, you were like, he closed the book because he was bored, because it says right here on line 14, Lemmy closes the history book because he was bored. So I'm going to answer that. That's perfectly fine. That's what you should do. That's what you should do. You need to make sure you have evidence and a reason why you are choosing an answer. This is even going to help you with the evidence question. So after you answered that question, you already told yourself, you already located the evidence for why that answer is that. So then you just have to match the line that you use as evidence with the line number from the evidence question. So that's even going to save you even more time. Number 5, if you're spending more than 1.5 minutes, more than 1 or 1.5 minutes on a question, circle the question number, make the best possible guess you can, and that includes trying to use evidence, and continue. You do not leave any questions blank. You cannot. If you leave a question blank, there's 0 chance that you're going to get it right. But if you put something, there's 25% chance that you'll get it right? So number 6, with these strategies, you should hopefully have time left over. So if you have any time left over, go back to the answers that you circled and then try to answer them again with more time, with a fresh mind, yada, yada, yada. Okay? So I am going to show you a video, or you're going to see a video, and I'm going to make a video in which I'm going to show you these strategies on an actual passage so you can really see what I mean. It might be hard to understand them just like logically like this, but I'm going to make a video where I'm going to show you how to actually do these. Okay, but this is just an introduction. Hopefully you understood this some, and there's also another video in which there's practice there's practice for being able to recognize the different types of questions. So I would suggest you do that one first. Make sure you understand what each type of question is, and then go watch the video in which I showed you how to annotate the passage and how to answer questions.